And I thank God that my mother died already. It was so cold. We were in Auschwitz 3 weeks.
We couldn't figure out how we got there. We were supposed to go to Brennlitz to work.
I was thinking that this is our end. I did not expect us to ever be rescued by Mr. Schindler or being able to get away from this hell.
We were so totally dehumanized.
I always kept saying Schindler would do something. I felt that he's going to save us.
Oskar Schindler sent a beautiful German woman with lots of gifts and lots of money to the SS officer in charge to talk with him. Some things happened between him and her, and the gifts and the sausages and liquor and vodka what Schindler sent it to him. And a few days later, the women were coming.
We were the happiest day, I think so, because we knew that we're going to Schindler. You see, we knew, all right, they called us, the list, the name.
It never happened in the history of Auschwitz that they would call prisoners by their name. They usually had numbers.
And so they sent us back on a train to Brennlitz.
The gate opened of the factory, 6 o'clock, and there was foggy day. And like a shadow, you know, in the fog, the women were coming.
We probably looked like a group of ghosts. And we came into the courtyard, and Mr. Schindler greeted us like long-lost relatives. He said, "Welcome. Don't worry about anything. Now you are with me, and you're going to be okay. Don't be afraid. Soup and bread are inside. Go and help yourself."
Brennlitz was a small village, and we were outside of the town in a camp.
The camp was not a camp, really, it was a factory. Downstairs was the factory. Upstairs, we slept.
We did not have bunks, so we slept on the straw. With Mr. Schindler, we didn't mind anything. Everything was terrific.
We felt, everybody of us, that as long as Schindler is with us, will nothing happen to us.
We knew Schindler is there, and I especially knew what he told me. I felt safe.
We started to work. The work was really it was a big sabotage because we really didn't do a thing.
Nothing ever was manufactured in the factory, but for appearances, we were working. I was put into a tool-making department. What did I know about tool-making? Nothing.
Left hand didn't know what right hand is doing. Not one bullet came out of the factory.
And then another time, Get came to visit. We were lined up to greet him, and Schindler walked through with Get. And of course, in Plaszow, you didn't dare lift your eyelids to look at Get. I mean, your head was always down. Well, we felt so protected by Schindler that we looked at him. For the first time, we really looked in the guy's face. And it was a good feeling, you know, to be able to look the monster in his face.
There was one man in our group who was a tremendously optimistic person. Besides that, he worked in Schindler's office, and from time to time he heard news on the radio. So he used to come every evening and tell us all kind of stories about victories of the Allies, how the Germans are on the run, and how the Russians are getting close. And like 100 people used to surround him and listen to his stories.
Everybody knew that something is going on and the war is coming to the end. Oh boy, so we were waiting.
And At that point, Churchill had a victory speech in England, and Schindler put it on a loudspeaker system in the factory. Being that I had English lessons before the war, I could understand here and there what Churchill was saying and translating it to my friends around me.
Yesterday morning at 2:41 a.m. at General Eisenhower's...
It was such excitement because we heard, you know, he said victory speech, and we knew something is going on, and all of a sudden everybody realized that we are safe, that we are free.
We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing.
And while I stood there, I just couldn't believe that here I am, the Germans still occupy this part of Czechoslovakia, and I'm listening to Churchill. When it dawned on me, it was something that my imagination could never form a moment like that. I can hear Churchill speaking.
The act of unconditional surrender of all German land, sea, and air forces in Europe.
The last time I saw Schindler is when he talked to us in the factory floor. And we were standing on the factory floor, and I was smaller than anybody in there, and we were sort of kind of crowded around, so I had to just take a peek at him every now and then in between the bodies.
He opened the warehouses. He had a warehouse where he had a lot of textiles.
Every one of us got several pieces of fabric, so we could either barter it for something else or sell it or make something for ourselves. So each one had a little capital with which to start a new life, thanks to Mr. Schindler.
He knew that we were going to be liberated by the Russians, and he had to give himself up to the Americans because the Russians would shoot him.
We felt he saved us. We have to save him.
He and Mrs. Schindler changed in prisoners' uniforms, even though they didn't look like prisoners because they had hair. We all signed an affidavit that he indeed saved us. And then we all went and kissed the whole line of people went by and kissed his hand, Oscar's hand, and Mrs. Schindler's hand, and we all cried. I cried. I felt like my father was being taken away again.
They took Schindler out in his car at night, and they drove him to the American border to his safety.
We were a few days in a no man's land, you know what I mean, because the Germans left and the Russians didn't arrive yet.
3 days later, the first Russian major with another soldier came on the horse, only 2 of them. We're liberating you.
It was an eerie feeling. You know, in front of our camp, there was a big, almost a mountain, like a big hill. And being in the camp, we always said, what are we going to do? If we will be free, what's beyond that hill? What will we do, you know? And when the liberation came, we went beyond the hill.
My parents decided Poland was not the place to stay. And in October, we smuggled over the border.
We escaped from Poland and went back to Germany. I was 16 years old, and a third of my life was destroyed. And so I started looking for some place to learn something.
I knew how to read, but I didn't know how to write. And I had lost, I was 14, and I only had 2 years of school. So the important thing was to get caught up. I went to a school for girls. It was a convent. And there was an elderly nun there. She was 92 years old. She had entered the convent at the age of 16 because of a broken love affair and had never left it. She did not know what it was like on the outside, really. She accepted me totally for what I was, which was wonderful, you know? And she was very kind. It's the only time I cry, when I think about her. She was good. There's some good Germans. Not everybody was bad.
Within a few months, I was in the immigration department. I tried to emigrate myself and my parents. My parents came too. And we got the visa, American visa, New Year's, Erev Rosh Hashanah, 1946. We got on the ship end of December, and I was very sick on the ship. On the fourth day, I got so sick that I thought I was dying.
When I came over on the boat, I have the $10, and Mila has the $10 in the pocket, the only money we have. So the captain and the doctor and one officer need 4 guys to play bridge. So they found me, I played bridge with them for the 5 nights while we were there, and I landed with $105 in America. That was my fortune.
New York was very exciting at the time. You know, Broadway and neon lights everywhere. It was just beautiful. And my uncle drove us then from New York to Iowa.
Our relatives, my uncle and aunt, lived in LA, so we came straight to Los Angeles from Germany. My first order was to learn English and fit into this new life.
The arrival in Chicago was really funny because my cousin was standing at the railroad station with a very long cigar, and they brought us to their house, and we had lunch. And first my cousin was showing me a banana. He says, "This is called banana." And he was showing us all kinds of things, and I thought that this is so ridiculous. I said to my father, "You know something? I can't take it. Who does he think we are? Where does he think we came from?" He says, "Be nice, be nice." Then my cousin takes us into the alley. He says, "You see this car? This is the best American car." He says, "This is called automobile." At that moment, his wife calls him to the telephone, and I get into the car. I started, and I drive around the block. And in Chicago, they park the cars in the alley in the back. When I came back into the alley, the whole family was standing. My cousin was pale. He says, "How did you know how to drive?" I said, "Benny, I have an international driver license, so don't worry about it." So he got on the telephone. He called all his friends. "My greenhorn knows how to drive."
Schindler had really not succeeded anymore afterwards. He tried everything. He opened a cement factory in Germany. He made a film. Nothing really went well.
As brave as he was during the war and enterprising, he just couldn't function in normal world. He couldn't make a living.
He went to Argentina, where he bought a farm. Fact is that he was there for quite a while, and he wasn't prosperous.
But he lived with the war times, with the people he saved. He knew about everybody's children's bar mitzvah, and he was telling me that this one has a son, and this one is this, and this one is that. And he was always telling me stories about the people whom he saved.
We on Schindler's List. So on